Hey, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome, Brett. Welcome, Konstantinos. Hope you both had good weekends. Hope you're both doing well. We'll give folks 30 seconds or so to sign on in, then we'll get stuck in. We had a busy weekend with quite a lot of geopolitical events.
For US utilities, according to the WSJ, New York will be building one of the first US nuclear power plants in a generation. The governor has directed state's public electric utility to add at least 1 gigawatt of new nuclear power productions, according to the WSJ.
Yeah, wow. Just hearing about New York planning to construct a nuclear power facility. Who'd have ever thought in our lifetime that nuclear power would be seen as the new green energy? But that's the way it's gone. Good morning, Ryan. Good to see you. Okay. Hey, Ryan. Okay, so let's go through this. What's going on? So over the weekend, US bombed 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, and the question now is the US one and done, or is this the beginning of further interventions? Could this be boots?
Geopolitical front, just to alert that NATO's Rutte, currently speaking from The Hague, says Iran must not develop a nuclear weapon.
Is this a start of boots on the ground in Iran? At this stage, markets don't think that's the case at all. And the focus is, what can Iran do next? There's 4 main avenues open to them. 1, a full escalation, which they haven't gone for so far. 2, bringing in China and Russia, which hasn't happened so far. 3 is that they close the Straits of Hormuz. That hasn't been done so far. And the big expectation is that if the Straits of Hormuz was closed, that could impact flows into China. There's 2 contrasting views I'm hearing on this. There's the one, they won't do it because it'll impact China's trade. And 2, I've heard that actually China could manage for a bit because they've got quite a lot of stockpiles for oil, so they could manage for a little bit. So just bear that in mind. And then finally, they could support terrorist organizations and attacks in US and Europe. And we have got one unconfirmed report just out that there has been an attack on a US base in Syria, but that is unconfirmed. And I think that is from CGTN that came out about an hour ago. So there's going to be a lot of focus on geopolitical risk today, and it's likely to be driven by that. If you look at markets, what markets are sort of saying is, yes, there's uncertainty. See, the VIX spiked up, but look at European equity markets. Yeah, they sort of started the day off lower, but they've been finding buyers. China's been finding buyers. Look at US equity futures buyers. So that's not a worried market. And if you look at the move into bonds, that's been up and down. Originally, bonds were sold off because the oil prices were seen as inflationary. So inflationary concerns were trumping risk-off concerns. Now we're seeing a bid come into bonds.
Just emphasizing some of the reports we've had a bit earlier. It says the new baseline will be to spend 5% of GDP on defense.
And so we're seeing, bid in the bond market, which is what you'd expect on risk-off trading. The commodities
will be investing in a 5-fold increase in air defenses.
The commodity space, I think this sums up, how it has gone so far as we've started the was if you look at the way you see oil gapped higher, significantly higher at the open. What it was, 2%, as high as sort of 3-4% higher, and then that move has pared back completely. And I think that's what markets are sort of saying is, what's the escalation? And we're still waiting to hear from Iran exactly what they're going to do. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another little risk bid, risk-off bid coming in, just pop higher in gold, maybe another pop higher in oil, but we'll see. And you can see that gold is off the highs, but again, nice pin bar reversal. You see this? Nice pin bar reversal, finding dip buys around this area. Wouldn't be unreasonable to see a little bit of dip buying here in gold. I think that's not a bad intraday punt, given the fact that there's so much geopolitical risk around. Apart from that, have seen dollar strength, which is reassuring to see that markets are still happy to buy the dollar in times of risk off. And that counters that, sell everything US story. So a little bit of dollar strength. But apart from that, markets are just sort of quite sanguine, really, and just shrugging it off. So morning, Najam. Morning, Brian. So, risk is mixed out there. You can see dollars the strongest, Swiss francs the strongest, Aussie, New Zealand dollar weakest. Yen sort of weak at the moment, so it's a risk-off leaning, but it's quite a gentle outlook. S&P 500 lower bound applied volatility is 5930, so you've got quite a little way to go from there. So today, on a day like this, I want to be led by the order flow, keep the squawk on, and realize that you could have a significant move. Now, on Friday, got caught out with the macro narrative, and was ignoring the bias that we saw.
Geopolitics, Iranian retaliation could come as soon as the next day or two, according to Reuters, citing one of the officials. US assesses high risk of Iranian retaliation against US forces soon. US still pursuing diplomatic resolution, two US officials say.
Okay, there we go. So could be as close. Right. Quite interesting, isn't it? So that's the sort of jittery trading we're going to get. Right. Yeah, it wasn't it? You know, nearly thinking, was that something? Market's wobbling on that, but nothing for now. I think I do like a gold long. Just was looking at this early in the FX section. Long at market, stops underneath that level and can look for a push higher. Oh, nice, Brian. Yeah, very good. Well done. I think, yeah, looking at that again now, it does make sense. Right. Okay. So, as I was saying on Friday, got a bit caught out, getting so stuck into the macro narrative. So today, we've got the macro narrative, but I want to focus on the order flow. And at the moment, we've got buyers trapping sellers. Delta is turning negative, so there's a mixed kind of move out there. And on the weekly chart, you can see we're in this volume profile low. So, okay, nice area to look for buyers. But we've got the weekly developing point of control up above, capping price. So we're sort of stuck here. But we'll keep an eye on what's going on with these sellers. And that could be a very interesting area, particularly if we go back down to that level. So we have a look at the S&P 500 on a intraday chart and just have a look how we're doing. Yeah, so we've got that attempt to push higher. And on the daily chart, we've got this big support level still sitting around the 5870, which is the 100 exponential moving average. Price trying to find some support at the moment. I don't see anything obvious here. Just having a little look if... Oh, nice, Najam. Short dollar yen on the back of the implied volatility zone and short NQ. Yeah, very nice. That's good work. And we're up at that value area high now on the TPO. So crucial area that we're currently 15-minute. We've got this value area that price is trying to break out, but you can see markets selling off, pullback, selling off. So this is a very interesting area here. So if we got sellers trapping those buyers there, I would enter that at this stage because I'd feel quite content to do that. And it'd be stops just running back up to that 60-20, stops over the 28. So it'd be an 8-point stop. So 8-point stop. Yeah, it's about 12 mini contracts, or just a 8-point stop. Just happy to enter one contract. So I do like this as we're with the delta trying to turn negative from this area here. We've got a decent area with these sellers on volume trapping those buyers. So this is not a bad area. Wouldn't mind that. Interesting, there was a little message coming out saying that Israel tried to send a message to Iran talking about peace. Saying it wants to end the war, but Tehran responds that the time is not yet. So it sounds like Iran wants to have, it's not never, but not yet. It sounds like Iran wants to strike. So they're going to want to respond to that US attacks. So we'll see. Could be a tricky next few hours, and just keep nimble. Data-wise, we've got US PMIs coming up. Not the ISM, the S&P Global. Where is it? Let me show you here. Got the S&P Global coming up. Markets shouldn't move very much on this because geopolitical risk is taking the headline. We've also got existing home sales. Again, it might just sort of impact sentiment over
Just making you aware, Iranian foreign minister says he did have a good meeting with Russian President Putin. They discussed in detailed development the situation in the Middle East, according to Russian press.
Okay, yeah, so that's a bit of posturing there with Iran saying they had a good meeting with Russia. So if this comes in very hot, above 52.6 for the manufacturing and above 54.3 for the services, and look for more dollar upside. Dollar yen upside would be great, or euro dollar selling. Okay, that's if it comes in very hot. 3 o'clock existing home sales, again, just noise in a day like this, and it's likely to be choppy trading, so just got to be aware of that. Okay, coming up to a 15-minute close just before the open. Right. Buyers having trapped sellers there, dip buyers coming in, 15-minute sellers unable to trap buyers at the moment. Looks like that daily VWAP is holding with these trapped sellers, and buyers are in control for now. Okay. Right, just see how this closes. Right, so that's it. No one's trapped. I'll come back here for the open. Aside from that, I'll keep the squawk on. Just watch out. Straits of Hormuz getting boxed. Immediate upside in oil. That's the one to look for. Any significant Iranian response, then look for immediate downside in the E-mini, but that could be paired depending on what actually happened and how serious it's perceived. At the moment, it's high risk of retaliation against US forces, so watch out. If there's a retaliation, go for gold upside, E-mini selling. That's the go-to. On it's just some kind of retaliation, then look for gold upside as the go-to. If it's anything to do with the Strait of Hormuz, anything oil related, it's oil, and the E-mini is generally suitable for any kind of news of escalation. Right, I'm going to go with this. I know I'm up at the highs, but if I get a break above, I'm going to go with that. Buying. See if we can get around. I'm going to go with the 60.33 if those sellers do get trapped here on the 15.
It's about a minute and a half now to the top of the hour rather. The US existing home sales May data expected at 3.95 million from 4 million. Also expecting remarks from Fed's Bowman.
Okay, so here we go. Right. That's probably quite a good buy for energies in the sector, in the S&P 500 sector. We'll check the ETF in a minute. That might be quite interesting.
It's just under a minute now to the top.
Okay, so buyers trapping sellers, delta positive. Any retracement back down to there. Happy to buy. The 60.35.
India rupee watches on the trade front. Indian US.
Got the home sales coming out now.
Interim trade
30 seconds.
July.
Clearly getting buyers trapped. So retracement back down to there. I'm buying for 35. 60.35.
Ten seconds. That's 4.03 million. 4.03 million.
Okay, that's fine.
A small increase against expectations of a decrease. Fed's Bowman open to cutting rates as soon as July if inflation pressures stay contained. Should put more weight on downside risk to the job market going forward, she says. It is time to consider adjusting the policy rate. Trade policy only likely to have a minimal impact on inflation. Data not showing much impact on trade policy shifts.
Interesting.
Government policy changes should lower inflation risks. Tariffs are likely to have a small impact on inflation. She notes that the progress on trade hasn't lowered the uncertainty over the outlook on the current situation in the Middle East. She notes strife could pressure up commodity prices. On the labour market, it's solid, but signs of softening are emerging.
Okay.
And
right. Interesting.
Financial markets, she says upcoming leverage rule proposal, a first step in reforming the distorted bank capital requirements. More work needs to be done. So that's Fed's Bowman over there, echoing a lot of what we heard from Fed's Waller last week. Bowman is open to cutting rates as soon as July.
Yeah, it's positive.
If inflation pressures remain contained. She says that we should be putting more weight to downside risks on the job market going forward.
Yeah.
And it's time to consider adjusting the policy rate. And on that labour market, she noted that it is solid, but there are signs of softness emerging.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll see if I can get some buyers. I'm going to go one contract long, just a small position. If I get buyers trapping these sellers here on the tick chart, that is positive from Bowman, positive from home sales, positive from PMIs. Generally good news, and no response from Iran yet. So I'm going to go long just on that, and then monitor it and see how we go. Okay, so I've got some buyers. They've trapped those sellers. Just see if you get a little tick higher on this. That is positive news from Bowman. Let's see where the target is. It's only going to be up here into the 50.
Just note, in wake of Bowman remarks, we are just seeing a bit of upside in the bond complex. Takes it to a new session high for the T-note future, around about the 111.12 plus region.
Yeah, that's good.
Also saw a bit more weakness for the dollar, as we've seen in recent trade. Just in terms of Fed pricing for the end of the year now, we're more than discounting 2 cuts for the year. So about 57 basis points of easing is being priced by markets. That was about 50 after the FOMC.
Okay, so markets are going to be happier that sooner interest rates are coming, so that should be supporting stocks. Let's see how we do. We're sort of quite up at these highs, you see, but I would expect this to move back up here now. See, there we go. The delta still moving in positively. On by that's volume flat.
Just further geopolitical reports. WSJ just citing Washington. It informed Arab parties in the region that Israel seeks to end the fighting with Iran soon. There has been a similar report to this a bit earlier in the session, you all know.
Okay. Positive delta now trapping those sellers as well. So the buy bias is still there.
To Israel's Channel 12 being cited by Al Hadath. Channel 12 citing senior Israeli officials reported that Iran will coordinate its response with Washington to prevent an unplanned escalation.
Good.
Quoting verbatim there from Al Hadath breaking.
That's good. Okay, I've just taken profit on that position up to there. Right, I think it was that final headline that just pushed it over the edge there. That Iran's going to coordinate with the US any attacks to keep it from escalation. That's good.